Let's welcome in our all-star political panel. We start out with the host of Stacy on the Right, Stacy Washington. Trump campaign senior advisor Steve Cortez is with us, and former Trump campaign aide Rick Gates. Steve Cortez, I promised you the very first question. I want to play you a soundbite. The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, where Tom Brady is a football player in the city of Tampa right now. He was on with Greg Kelly last night talking about he is going to be the first politician to try and make sure that social media platforms cannot censor the right. I'm being told we don't have the soundbite, so just take my word for it. But sure. It was a great soundbite. He was on with Greg Kelly last night. You can watch it on our website, newsmax.com. Your thoughts on, now we do have it. Here, take a listen.
What they said at the time, it's a conspiracy, or it's based on hacked information. Are you kidding me? You're trying to tell me if there was hacked information that could damage me, you guys wouldn't print it? Give me a break. You can whiz on my leg, but don't tell me it's raining.
Now, he said whiz. He didn't go for the gold and say the other word. But Steve, your thoughts, and why is he the first politician to actually go after the social media companies?
Well, Ron DeSantis proved once again why I believe he is the best governor in America. The way he has handled COVID, the economy in the state of Florida, things like school choice, I could go on and on. But this is just the latest example of him showing leadership and bravery. And because the Republicans, I think this is important for those of us in the America First movement, because we do not control the levers of power now in Washington, D.C., neither in the House, the Senate, nor the White House. We have to look to governors, and to some extent, this is the way it should be in America, in a federalist system. We have to look to governors in this laboratory of democracy to do the hard work of protecting America's prosperity and civil liberties. That's exactly what Ron DeSantis has been doing in Florida. I think it's why, other than President Trump, he is probably the foremost leader right now of the America First movement. States have a lot of power to take on big tech. Florida is a huge, growing state. Right. Every company in America, including the technology giants, wants and needs to operate in the state of Florida. And what Ron DeSantis is saying is, if you're going to operate here and you are going to suspend the Twitter accounts of any politician or political candidate in an act of censorship and suppression, you're going to pay a literal price. We are going to fine you. And I think he'll even go further than that eventually. They won't be able to do business in the state of Florida. I hope a lot of other brave governors follow his lead. The Republicans have, in 23 states, we had the trifecta, meaning the governor and both houses of the legislature. Those are 23 states that can do an enormous amount to promote liberty in this country against the tyranny of the oligarchs of big tech.
And if it's not Donald Trump, the Republicans have a very deep bench. Rick, do we think that Ron DeSantis, we know he'll be on a ballot in 2022. He's got to run for governor again in Florida, and by all indications, he'll win without a problem. But do we think he's on a bigger ballot in 2024?
Sure, there are rumblings that he's looking at a possible 2024 bid. But I think, for the foreseeable future, Donald Trump still has control of the party. And I think that he is going to, to a large extent, help determine who's going to run for 2024 if it's not him. I still believe that he is probably likely going to run in 2024. And so I think, Ron DeSantis will probably be a great candidate. There's a lot of indications that you've seen with Kevin McCarthy going down to visit President Trump last week in Mar-a-Lago, right, and other efforts that people are just waiting to determine and decide what to do because they're trying to figure out what Trump's going to do. And I think as the 2022 election unfolds, that's going to be a big, kind of stake in the ground for the president. If he is able to help the House and Senate take back control of Congress, I think he's going to get a lot of credit for that. And I think that's going to just bolster his standing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's still so popular, too. Stacey, your thoughts?
So my other favorite governor is Kristi Noem. So I think the two of them are the rising stars in the GOP. I agree that President Trump is still the leader of this party. He's the leader of the American First movement. He had 74 million votes in the election. There's no way he's going anywhere anytime soon, regardless of the actions of the Democrats. It's interesting because they seem to be shooting themselves in the foot while also dancing in a jig because they want him, but they hate him. They can't stop talking about him. There's no happy medium for them, and there's no happiness for them. So I'm enjoying watching the spectacle, and I think what Governor DeSantis has done is so important because it shows that there are other mechanisms besides the federal government with which to accomplish things, and that is federalism. And I just encourage people to think outside of the box. How can you push back in your own state? How can your AG push back? There are things we can be doing besides relying on the Republicans in Washington, D.C.
I want to share with you, this is the situation right now with Joe Biden's press secretary. It's been 15 days. That's how long he's been in office. I am trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. And I get it. Sometimes, you ever have a joke just kind of fall flat? That was her Space Force thing yesterday. But here is something that is really going to knock them off message. If you haven't seen this was a tweet by White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. She is talking about, apparently referring to South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham and referring to him as Lady G, Lady Gaga. It says, only in 2020 does Lady G get to push a bunch of debunked conspiracy theories while questioning Sally Yates, a.k.a. an American hero. She tweeted that back in August. So this wasn't from like 8 years ago. This was August 5th of 2020. And a homophobic tweet like that is a really bad look for the party of wokeism and everyone else. Steve Cortez.
Yes, I think unfortunately it's the latest example of there being two sets of rules, and Americans understandably recoil at two sets of rules, whether it's COVID restrictions or whether it's the speech police who would jump all over any Republican who had tweeted something like this. I think, more importantly, Jen Psaki, what she has shown so far in that briefing room, and look, I'll be the first to say I think it is a very tough job, but what she has shown so far is a complete inability to master the facts. And frankly, an administration thus far, and granted, it's early days, but an administration that, other than some radical executive orders, does not seem to have a real driving principle, does not seem to have an animating ethos that is driving this administration, at least not one that they have been able to enunciate so far. So I have to say she's done a really poor job so far at her job, and her past tweets are not helpful, that's for sure.
Stacy, do you agree? Is the Biden administration, do they not have a uniting message?
I think, and not to disagree with Steve, but I think that their uniting message is we hate people who have jobs. And so we're going to relieve you of your jobs and then give a really stupid reason for taking it from you. They seem to be beholden to a very tiny sliver of Americans who are climate activists when the majority of Americans just want to work. They care about the environment, but they want to work and be left alone. Yeah. And the Biden administration it's almost as if they have a list of people who have jobs and they're working on executive orders to eliminate every tranche of jobs that people have in groups. And it doesn't matter if they're their constituents or not. As far as Jen Psaki, anyone can grow into any role. Anyone can grow into any position. To me, she is patently unserious and she's an Obama retread. But what do I expect from Joe Biden? I told you weeks ago, Rob, that I was lowering my expectations, and so far I feel like I've been right.
Yeah, I agree. Rick Gates, I'll give you the final thought on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you look at a recent Quinnipiac poll, Joe Biden's approval rating has already dropped about 15 points. It's now under 50%, and he's been in office less than 3 weeks. Yeah. I think what Jen Psaki did, and you look at the impeachment, conservatives, have a tendency to turn the other cheek. Democrats like to go for the throat. I think it's time that we look at all this and we really got to, set the stage for how we're going to move forward. I think conservatives need to stop complaining and start being proactive, particularly as we get to 2022 and 2024. We need to take back the House and Senate, and we need to get the presidency back in 2024.
Rick, in my house, I've got a panorama of the old Boston Garden, like the old garden, and it's kind of a long vertical picture. In your house, you've got an inauguration behind you, it looks like. What is that behind you? You changed locations in your house.
I did, yes. This is a picture from the 2017 inaugural celebration. So this is Donald Trump's inauguration, and we got these massive pictures that were given to us at the end. These guys took the panoramic pictures. They're fascinating to see, and you get to see kind of the whole podium. And if you look with the magnifying glass, you can pretty much see everybody you think is going to be up there.
Pretty darn cool, Rick Gates. Thank you so much, panel. We appreciate it. Steve Cortez, Stacy Washington, thank you. Always enjoy it.